Inside the tent, the showmaster, Balthazar Kane, is seen preparing himself in front of the mirror. Then, a young child named Travis arrives. He's following Kane's orders, revealing that he's Kane's child and assistant. Kane performs a small trick for the little child, taking him by surprise. He pretends to pull out a coin from behind his ear. He offers to perform another trick to double the coins. The kid excitedly agrees, but to his utter disappointment, he's left with no coins at all. This acts as a lesson for the small child, to whom Kane advises that nothing in life is free, and if something is too good to be true, then it probably is. To change the somber atmosphere to a lighter one, he causes a flare of fire, astonishing the child once again. Travis is determined to learn magic from his father, but Kane also advises that to learn magic, one needs to endure pain. There's a foreboding sense of horror in his words. Almost 20 years later, we are taken to an interrogation room. A woman is waiting to be questioned. She's covered in blood and shivering in obvious fear. After a while, she speaks and reveals the traumatic events that have led to this moment. A flashback ensues. 8 influential social media stars from the horror community receive a suspicious text from Balthazar Kane. The text states that if they're able to survive the horrors of the new and revived Circus Kane, they will get the opportunity to win a generous sum of $250,000. All 8 contestants have their personal reason to take part. The contestants include Big Ed, who's a memorabilia seller, Scream Queen actress Carrie, Greg, who's a movie reviewer, Jake the blogger, Roxy the rock star, Billy the gamer, Scott, a teen who's keen on charity, and Tracy, probably also a blogger. They make up the horror community, and due to their social media presence, they'll help in spreading the word as much as they can. While they meet at the designated locations and realize the reason for being invited specifically, a SWAT truck arrives. 2 masked men carrying guns force them to climb into the truck. Inside, they are huddled up, discussing Balthazar Kane and getting acquainted with each other. Just then, Big Ed mentions that Kane had been arrested for the manslaughter of one of his men. There's also a song called Burnin' Insane, which refers to this incident. The mood grows a little somber after the realization, but that doesn't deter anybody for long. Suddenly, a green gas is released, making them fall asleep. After some time, they reach the location. Balthazar Kane's mansion is located in an isolated place. There's nothing in sight for miles. The entire place has an eerie and chilling atmosphere. They are welcomed by the butler at the door. The butler's skin is pale and he almost looks like a corpse. After they enter, they are quickly confined in that place with no way out. Right after, the group encounters a jump scare. While everybody is startled, Ed looks like he's in pain as he clutches his chest. He pops in a pill. He has a heart condition which makes the entire competition more daunting for him. Soon they enter the first room and notice some horrifying pictures. Everyone finds them cool, while Jake realizes that his cell phone still has service. Greg responds that the entire ordeal is just for promotions. Almost immediately, multiple televisions light up and the silhouetted figure of Kane appears. He welcomes them to his mansion and states that they will be part of his legacy. His face is dramatically revealed. Then he explains the rules. If any of the 8 survives the House of Horrors, they will receive the $250,000. There are cameras in each room to record the journey, which will then be broadcasted online. Now, if they wish to quit at any point, all they have to do is say, "Balthazar Kane, you win again," and they'll immediately be let off. A door opens suddenly, and Greg enters the dark room. When the others try to enter after him, the door immediately slams shut. They hear Greg freaking out on the other side and try to twist it open. After a while, they finally succeed. Inside, they see a glass partition. Greg is gagged and strapped inside a magician's box by 2 clowns. Billy comments that it's a classic Kane trick. Initially, the entire act seems like a trick until one of the clowns produces a real chainsaw. He brutally saws through Greg as blood spills everywhere. Still, these idiots don't realize what had just transpired and theorize that Greg might be working for Kane. This is all just a trick. Jake looks unsure though. Dreaming of the prize, they decide to stick around. They move back to the main room. The door swiftly closes behind them and locks them inside. With no other way, they watch Kane's video, One More Thing, thanks to Scott for recording the video on his phone. At the end of the message, the showmaster says, "Let the darkness be your guide," so they switch off the light. They notice an arrow light up in the darkness that guides them to the next room. The room is decorated like the ones of creepy children from horror movies. In the middle, they see a rotting, decapitated head, locked in a cage casually. Now, these supposed bunch of horror fanatics still don't understand the messed up situation. They conclude that it's fake, even after getting the foul stench. Suddenly, they hear Kane's voice from the rotting head. They deduce that the clue is the phrase apple of the eye, and on cue, Ed finds the key inside an apple. Unfortunately, that key doesn't open the door as it's the key for the cage. Upon opening it, Tracy says that the key to the door is probably inside the eye of the head. No one offers to jab their hand inside the disgusting thing, so Roxy volunteers before it's too late. They find the key and move to the next room. The group's a little more confident after solving one escape room. In the next room, they see Satan sitting at a ticket counter. Tracy asks for 7 tickets. Ed, Carrie, and Scott get the number 2 while the others get the number 1. They proceed towards the rooms that correspond to their tickets. In room number 1, they encounter a maze of extremely sharp barbed wires. They notice arrows that direct them to the other side. Realizing that the optimum way is to crawl, everyone except Billy manages to cross it. Unfortunately, at the very end, Billy gets caught in the wire. Jake tries to help him and aggressively pulls him through, injuring him. Simultaneously, the other 3 discover an overheated room. They are supposed to hop onto the small platforms that are laid out to cross to the other side, avoiding the blazing floor and walls. As Scott hops on to move forward, a huge axe attacks him and injures his arm. Suddenly, several axes start swinging, all 3 times their jump, and somehow move forward. In the end, they succeed in the challenge, but Scott sports an injured arm and Ed has his hand burnt. Next, both groups are led to a smaller room. Scott's group reaches a room with various children's games. There's a mallet game and also a jack-in-the-box. They try the boxes to escape the room, but nothing happens. Suddenly, an enormous clown pops up in front of Ed. His heart isn't able to take the shock, and before he could calm down, a huge black bear abruptly pops up as well. His heart fails and he falls on the edge of the mallet machine, smashing his head. Carrie screams as she's grabbed by the Harlequin clown from earlier. The clown immediately seems to have disappeared into thin air. Scott and Carrie finally understand the intensity of the situation. Scott dials 911. Although they're able to locate them, both the police and ambulance will take 2 hours to reach. Dejected, they decide on going back to find an escape route. The duo crosses the heated room once again and reaches the room with the ticket counter. Concurrently, we follow the other group in a similar room. They find a box which needs yet another key to open. While searching for the key, Billy's hand is suddenly bitten off by the other clown we've seen earlier. As the clown lets out a terrifying laugh, Billy writhes in pain. Roxy still decides to stay as she desperately needs the money to save his younger brother. Tracy finally finds the key, and Jake opens the box with it. But alas, even after pressing the single button, nothing really happens. Everyone gives up, and they chant the phrase to be let out. Suddenly, the clown attacks Billy with an axe and kills him. Seeing the clown on the other side of the barbed wire, Roxy resolves to just barge in to escape. She gets tangled up in the wires, and the more she struggles, the more the wires twist in her body. She meets her painful demise as Tracy cries over her lost friend. The others finally have had enough and go back to the ticket room as well. There, they meet Scott and Carrie. They inform the others about their dead friends and decide to leave the house. Finally, Kane's past is revealed. In the circus tent that was shown earlier, Kane gets into a heated argument with one of his men called Valentino. The argument takes a physical turn which prompts Kane to set fire to the gasoline cans in the tent. Although the corpse butler saves the little child, Robert perishes in the fire. Kane sustains injuries and is convicted of manslaughter. In the present, the remaining 4 go back to the first room, but of course, it's locked. A new door opens, but Carrie refuses to take part in any more surprises. She's done. Well, as she should be. Suddenly, they hear the sounds of a heavy chain being dragged. And who's it again? The Harlequin clown. With no other option, they move into the new room. This room is a whole museum for cannibals. The entire room is filled with severed parts of humans all hanging around like clothes. The 4 try to devise a plan to escape, but suddenly Jake is stabbed and dragged away. His blood bathes the others as they scream in horror. Next, Carrie is grabbed by one of the clowns and strangled to death. The 2 escape to the next room, but there's another zombie-looking monster waiting for him. This is Scott's last straw. He furiously engages in a fight, pounding on his chest repeatedly. He finally manages to kill him off. Relieved, Tracy and Scott share a hug. They run to the next room to find a way to escape the damn place. They reach a medical room, discovering a person on life support. It's Balthazar Kane, in the flesh. His face is ruined due to the fire. Still, he manages to welcome them. When Scott threatens to let them go, Kane gets up from the bed and wears his signature hat. He states that death is the one true God and he's death's tattered angel. He reassures them that their death will give them immortality in his horror legacy. Well, Scott's not reassured, obviously, and they run. Now, they are chased by Kane, the psycho, and the two clowns. In the maze of bodies, Tracy loses sight of Scott. While she searches for him, he suddenly shows up and says that they need to split up. But before they could, Kane brutally stabs Scott. The clowns begin to aggressively chop Scott's body into pieces as Tracy gets covered by his blood. She runs away with Kane hot on her heels. They reach the first room with the televisions again. She finds the main door locked, and as she scrambles to find the keys, she's attacked by Kane. Although he has several chances to kill her off, he somehow doesn't. The entire fight seems suspicious, just the two frantically hitting each other. She finally manages to find the button to open the door and runs outside. The police have just arrived and she rushes to them. Kane tries to still chase her, but the police shoot him down. Before dying, he proudly announces that magic is sacrifice. After recounting the events, the investigators let Tracy go, as she must have been traumatized by her experience. While she's leaving, she seems too nonchalant for someone who has just witnessed such disturbing horrors. In a flashback, it's revealed that Tracy is the young child from earlier. She's Kane's daughter, and the father-daughter duo had orchestrated the entire performance to bring back Kane's legacy. The butler and Tracy have looked after her father, and this performance was his sacrifice to re-establish his legacy once again.